Well, the Rhodes connection with the Olympics goes back a very long way. In fact, as far as we can tell, to 1908, when Dr. Harvey Sutton, Victoria and New College, 1905, participated in the 800 metres. He didn't succeed in the 800 metres, but he did have a stellar career thereafter, serving with distinction in the First World War, and then becoming the inaugural head of the Public Health and Infectious Diseases Department at the University of Sydney, where he had a great impact on the design of the health service in Australia. Excluding these Olympic Games, where it's still too early to come up with a final number, we seem to have identified 37 Rhodes Scholars who have been Olympians. And just to tell you a little about a few others, because I think there are some fascinating stories here. Our first gold medal seems to have been won by Bevan Wright, St Andrews College, Grahamstown, and Trinity, 1913. He participated in 1920 at Antwerp and won gold in the 400, silver in the 800, and bronze in the 4x400 relay. He went on to have a distinguished career as a sports journalist, was one of the editors of the Daily Telegraph, but sadly, shortly after returning to South Africa in his early 50s, he passed away. There was Wilfred Kent Hughes, who participated in the 110 hurdles at Antwerp as well. He was from Victoria and Christchurch, 1915. Whilst not necessarily making his mark as an athlete, he certainly, in Olympic terms I'm talking here, he certainly made it in another way. He was the chairman of the organising committee of what I guess would today be known as MOCOG, the Melbourne Olympic Games organisation. He had a distinguished career in state politics in Australia and subsequently in national politics in the Menzies government. Whilst he didn't much approve of the portfolio he was allocated, and indeed said that it involved very little work at all, he is credited in the history of the Olympics as being one of the major catalysts for change in terms of the way the Olympics are presented to the world today. There was the remarkable Edward Egan, still today one of only two who have won gold medals in both summer and winter Olympics. He was from Colorado and in 1922 came up to New College. His golds were won in the light heavyweight boxing in Antwerp as well. And then in the 1932 Winter Games at Lake Placid, he won gold in the four-man bobsled. In fact, 4 athletes in total, I think, who have won medals at both summer and winter Olympics, which makes his feat all the more remarkable. Alan Valentine is a name that will be known to many of you. He won gold in 1924 in Paris as a participant, or as a player, in the US rugby team. Not only was he a player, he was also the coach of the team. Skills that were obviously deeply engendered as a result of his participation in Cuppers and university rugby at Oxford. But he is better known and recently, more recently than his Olympic participation, because at a very young age he became Master at Pearson College at Yale and moved on from there to become President of Rochester University, where he served for many years. President Truman in 1951 then appointed him, obviously as a result of his distinction, both as a leader and a scholar, as chairman of the Economic Stabilisation Board in the United States. Well, the Paris Games were also notable for the feat of Arthur Porritt. Arthur Porritt was a New Zealand Rhodes, I apologise for this, and came up to Magdalen in 1923. But in those games, he won the bronze medal in the 100 metres. That race memorialised by the Chariots of Fire movie. Well, you all now know that that race was won by Rowan Atkinson. But in fact, it was won by Harold Abrahams. The great Harold Abrahams in many respects, because he became great not only because of his extraordinary feat at those Olympics and winning that race, but more so because he was a distinguished BBC sports commentator for many, many years, and well known to Oxford, even though he hails from our daughter institution in the Fens, because he would regularly come to the Iffley Road track to commentate and to timekeep. And it was there, in fact, that he was when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile in 1953. But before that, his most legendary commentary, and you'll find it on the BBC archives if you go in there on your machines, was of the 1936 mile at the 1936 Games in Berlin. For it was there that Rhodes scholar Jack Lovelock was competing against what may still be regarded as the greatest set of milers in living memory. Among them, the great Americans, Glenn Cunningham, Gene Vetsky and Archie San Romani, and the Italian Accardo. And it was in that race that Harold Abrahams, when the runners reached the top of the curve, to come around the curve into the final straight, completely lost it, stopped commentating, and simply said, "Come on, Jack! Come on, Jack!" And that's exactly what Jack did. He came home, won the gold medal, broke the world record in a time of 3:47.8, one of the great mile races. Well, more recently, we've seen success with Rhodes women. Annette Salmin, California and St. John's 97, competed in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics in the 4x200 swimming relay, and there she collected a gold medal. She has gone on to have a career as an academic scientist and also is the secretary of the US Anti-Doping Agency. Before her, Bonnie St. John, again from California and Trinity 86, had been at the Winter Olympics in 1984 at Innsbruck. And there she had won bronze in the slalom and in the giant slalom, and as a result of the combined scores, she won a silver overall. I want to say just this about Bonnie. She wrote about her Rhodes experience, and I want to quote, "The poor little crippled black girl, for this you need to know, that at the age of 5, owing to a congenital fault with her leg, one leg was amputated just above the knee. The poor little crippled black girl that the San Diego School District wanted to send to a special school was granted this illustrious honour, to fight the world's fight as a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. And it wasn't going to cost me a penny. You have to understand that I never had enough money to do anything. Our family sometimes had to eat canned soups and powdered milk for a few days until Mum got her next paycheck, because there was nothing left for groceries. I went through Harvard in 3 years instead of 4 because I was afraid that we would run out of money before I graduated, despite the generous scholarship. Even when I made it to the Olympics, I wore other people's cast-off ski clothes and mismatched gloves that I had gotten out of the lost and found at ski areas. I almost didn't even make it to the Rhodes interview because I was broke. Now, thanks to the generous legacy of an early 20th century philanthropist, all my bills would be paid, with a liberal stipend to boot. For the first time in my whole life, I didn't have to worry about money at all." And then, more recently, Jen Hewitt, California again, and St. John's 2005. She participated in Athens in the 2004 Paralympics, where she won gold in basketball. So I think you can see from those few examples from among our 37 participants that there is a wonderful legacy of Rhodes participation in the Olympic Games, just as there is a wonderful tradition of Oxford old members and current members' participation in the Olympic Games. In fact, with a little bit of liberal accounting, I think we can actually show that Oxford scored about 15th in the medal table for each of the last 2 Olympics.